or we will have team random, because the settings are that if players have different civilizations in game 3, they will then swap over for game 4, but if they're both the same, then we just open it up to team random. Hello, Taff. It's called Team Random because if you have, say, 4v4 and everybody goes Team Random, then all of the teams will have this, like this, the same 4 civs will be on each team. It's just, so we used to call it Mirror, but it got changed to Team Random at some point. I admit it doesn't make as much sense in a 1v1 context, but spectator delay is counting down. We're going to be in the game 4 in just about 20-30 seconds, I should think. So I'm going to switch the scene in advance this time since you missed the first minute of the last game. Apologies for that.
But what if you accidentally click on the window with the password? Then, you know...
Oh, it's gone now. I closed that.
Oh, okay, well.
Turks War. That's pretty interesting. So let's have a look what we've got. We've got Viper on the right hand side in blue, and then Vivi on the left hand side in red. I think at this point Vivi has used his restart, but Viper hasn't, so Viper can still use that if he wants to. But I feel like this is not a map that he will be looking to restart unless he has a bad start, probably. It looks pretty decent to me with a kind of like berries, wood, gold, all in the back, pretty defensible. Able to do a pretty decent wall off on the bottom part of his map. Forward stones, potentially a bit of an issue if he's unable to secure them. There could be a bit of an issue if Vivi does another tower rush, although you have to think that's probably slightly less likely with Turks. But later on, of course, you probably want castles for Janissaries as well. So I'd say forward stones probably the only massive downside of this map for Viper. His second gold's pretty decent as well, although where is his third one? I'm trying to see.
Who's?
Viper's is this one in the middle of the map, like directly between the two players in the hill? Viper's the gold. You see out past his third.
Like it, yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it's 4 tiles as well, isn't it? So that's pretty far away. In fact, it's almost closer to Vivi. So that's probably the only massive downside to Viper's map. Meanwhile, Vivi has a great map actually. Wall of ball in the bottom and in the top. 2 golds up there he'll need to secure, but everything else more or less in the back. Nice wood line, back gold, almost impossible to hit for Viper. So I think Vivi will be glad to see a map like that, considering he hasn't got a restart. So Turks then, what are we thinking? Are we thinking scouts?
Quite a few options. This is a green Arabia map, and well, they're not really rollable maps, so probably not the Drush into anything. Scouts likely into archers. We could see once again the Trush from Vivi, since you will likely want to go for Castle and Janissary sometime in the game. They are extremely strong units in Castle Age as well. Maybe we'll see more. We'll probably see more standard play coming out from Viper. So the scout play. And maybe we'll see something a little crazy from Vivi again, because he is the underdog, and if they both play standard, it's presumed that he will be at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Viper pushing deer already. Vivi not choosing to do the same, but the fact that he's pushing deer makes me think Viper could be thinking of a scout rush, and he's also got 3 on wood, so that's signalling his intentions really, isn't it? But Vivi trying to take a boar on the front. I'm glad I've picked up on that because I've missed a couple of these lately until they actually come in. And Viper's not really going to be able to intercept that. His scout's too far away. So that's an advantage for Vivi, although he needs to ensure his own Dark Cage goes smoothly as well whilst he's laming. I mean, these pro players are perfectly capable of doing that, but we have seen some instances where stealing boars doesn't always pay off that much, especially if the opponent is able to push deer. I just heard a villager go down for Vivi. Where was that? Was he trying to lure one of his own boar? Do you see that there's a death for Vivi?
Yeah.
Oh, it was right on the town centre. It must have been right in the town centre. Yeah, he's got 3 boars under his TC now.
Okay, so he's probably distracted by the boar steal, and ended up losing one. Yeah.
Yeah, just as I was saying, like, you've got to make sure your own Dark Age goes efficiently if you're going to boar steal. And with Viper pushing in all the deer, probably, he's not going to be struggling too much for food. And Vivi losing a villager, you know that's when it starts to be a debate, like, how worth it is it? Because Viper's probably not going to have a problem at all with making that scout rush work, I would have thought, if he's able to get the deer in, although they are kind of coming in a tiny bit late.
Yeah, it's not going to affect him very much at all with his deer being that close and him being able, well, it's not that close, but for him to be able to push at least 2 deer in already, he's made up most of the food that he's lost from the boar, and Vivi losing his villager. It seems like Vivi's going for the massive rolls with that advantage, and he's going for the drush, so it is something a little different from Vivi. Yeah, well, I wanted to say brush, but then I was like, what time is it?
Yeah, it could be Man at Arms or something, or potentially you could even see him going forward with that again, with those villagers that wall, I don't know. We've seen crazy stuff from him already, but may well just play it a little bit more safely and go... Oh yeah, he's doing a drush. So do you think he's going to click up and do Man at Arms?
Unlikely. With these rolls, he's definitely going for the FC. And as for whether he'll choose to click Man at Arms, if it affects his FC time too much, I don't think it's worth it for him. So probably not, unless he somehow is in the position to do so much damage with the Man at Arms, which given Viper's map, I don't think he will be in such a position.
And Viper's even pushing in more deer from the middle of the map. He's got frustrated with trying to push those ones around the forest on the right hand side, and it's taking them from the middle now. Vivi, meanwhile, looks to have fully completed his wall off, and so let's see what his drush is able to do. It's one of those surprise drushes that comes in late.
Yeah, that's very, very late rush. But Viper's going to have that stable up, so no surprises there as expected, playing very, very standard, making sure that his stable does not get denied. Oh, that 5 health palisade. Vivi only needs to hit it once, but he doesn't click on it, and Viper gets away with it.
The lady caster sounds like Kylie Minogue.
I sound nothing like her. It's just because we're both Australian. That's racist.
Well, I sound like Stephen Gerrard earlier, which is just I just find so offensive. I don't sound like a Scouser, that's for sure.
Well, you know, you're British, so...
Oh, come on.
Same thing, racist.
Exactly. So Vivi's drush is just kind of tempting Viper into trying to attack it with his villagers without actually harassing too much. He's pushing that deer further away with the villager as well. I don't know whether that was intentional or just the pathing, but it's quite funny. Scouts coming out for Viper now, trying to deal with the drush, and Vivi's just luring more and more villagers away, trying to inflict economic idle time. Scout for Vivi going down as well. I was surprised he didn't peel that away, because it wasn't going to be able to help with the drush, considering it was on low HP, and it would probably be better to keep it active on the map and gaining that scouting information. Yeah,
so I think Vivi's just trying to keep Viper at home, keep his scouts occupied, make sure that he has no idea what Vivi has done and that he's going for the full walls around. I mean, obviously by this point in time, Viper should have guessed that he's going for the Drush FC given his uptime, and he's on stone as well, so something else to consider.
I've just gone to Viper's scout point of view, and all he sees is the section of wall at the front with the barracks. So he hasn't really seen much of Vivi. He doesn't actually know Vivi's map at all. Like, he doesn't see any of his resources, and he only sees a tiny bit of the wall off. And I think Vivi's like playing it really well, as you say. He's keeping Viper in the dark, literally, and keeping him away from his base while he just sits behind his walls and does whatever he likes. Going up with a market. And he might choose to put down a black. Yeah, even though he had a barracks, he's going with blacksmith. So probably going to see a more economy-oriented joke along. Why did I say joke? Approach. I was thinking because I was reading Bazooka Dog's message to me in the top left window there, and it made me think he's telling me some kind of joke. A more eco-oriented approach, along with possibly a castle from Vivi, because he's already on 340 stone. With sending a 5th Vil out there, and he's also doing stone walls as well, so we could see something like TCs plus Janissaries from him behind stone walls with pretty much all of his resources in those walls, and that seems like quite an effective approach to me. But meanwhile Viper is doing more or less the same thing without walls. He obviously didn't produce too many scouts once he realised that Vivi was full walled, and he's jumping on stone himself. It's pretty safe for him to do that as well, because like he's quite aware that what Vivi's doing, that he's being very passive. So even though those stones are exposed, it's fine for him.
And he knows that obviously Vivi's castle age is going to be quite delayed. Vivi did have a lot of stone in the bank, mainly due to the fact that he sent 2 villas onto stone in Dark Age. Didn't need as many villages on gold due to that nice Turkish gold mining bonus.
A nice little trick that Vivi's done on the left hand side. Do you see how there's a 1-tile gap between the cliff and the edge of the map, but there's a straggler tree there? It would be tempting not to wall that, but equally, like, a villager could pop up and palisade, like chop and palisade that and break that tree down in like 1 second. So Vivi's just put up a little tile of palisade diagonally, like through the wall tile, like the cliff and the tree, in order to ensure that he gets just a little bit of notice if that happens. They're both placed in the castle age. Again, Viper early Bosaw, straight away a castle and a monastery on the front hill, securing the rest of his stone. Vivi's castle position is kind of interesting. I don't know if there are. I mean, it just protects the front of his base from harassment from perhaps that hill, but it doesn't do much else apart from simply providing with the castle.
I have no idea. I think he just had villages nearby and he was like, I'm just going to build a castle here because I can't afford to take bills off anywhere else to build a castle right now.
I guess if he does another one at some point, we'll probably see it in the top of the map next to his secondary and tertiary golds. It seems like Viper's going to be going so quickly for relics again. We saw that in the last game where he was getting, I think he got all 5 relics in, or at least he got 3 or so and was prioritising getting the other ones in really quickly. And he's doing that again because he knows Vivi is just sitting in the corner and he's going to use that to try and get as many relics as he can. And he also knows that Vivi is probably going for that kind of castle plus TCs behind his walls, and that he's not going to have army out on the map anytime soon, so it's just open season for the monks.
Yep, and also monks have very good range. Even against Janissaries, they're not great, but if you micro them all right, then still a chance that you can get a convert out. They do have 1 extra range compared to the Janissaries.
Second TC coming up for Viper, so he's a little bit ahead of Vivi on that one. And Janissary production coming out for Vivi, but they're just too late to intercept some of the monks. He's going to kill at least 1 here in the middle, but at this point Viper's already made a good start on getting the relics. And actually he's just dropped a relic in order to turn around and get a conversion, and I'm so surprised Viper didn't lose that one monk that he had. Really nice save from him. And now Janissaries of his own coming out and protecting the rest of the monks from Vivi's Janissaries. Archer armor coming in for Vivi, which Viper has already done. Good pick off of a monk by Vivi there. You can see that most of the Janissary fire was missing because they're kind of spectacularly inaccurate on those sorts of ranges. Just a little bit of skirmishing going on, mainly with both players losing a Janissary or two, but the difference being obviously that Viper's lost a monk, but relics in the bank, that won't matter. But Vivi's doing pretty well with the Janissaries now. He's don't think Viper is really microing that, and Vivi's just picked off 4 or so Janissaries without actually. I think he might have lost one there, but just taking a slight lead with the picking off Janissaries at this point. Viper onto his 3rd town centre, whereas Vivi has only just dropped his 2nd. So quite like the last game, Viper's just getting those TCs up slightly earlier. And he was able to do that whilst also being the one who got the monks out. So that's like a clear difference between the two players in terms of having that economy ready to go and to do the different things you need to do once you hit the castle age. And I'd also suggest like Viper's probably having a bit of an easier time getting that economy running and onto more town centres, with the fact that he just straight away goes for Blowsaw the moment he hits castle age. I didn't see if Vivi did that or not. I'll try and check that at a time when there's not quite so much action going on in the middle of the map. You see that players continuing to skirmish with Janissaries and another monk for Viper going down, but he'll just keep trying to get those relics in, because with a couple of relics in the bank and denying Vivi from getting any and getting up to 4 or 5 relics would always be worth losing a monk here and there if that's what it takes. Vivi trying to achieve some raiding at home, at Viper's home, but getting picked off and not really able to do anything. And meanwhile, Viper obviously can't raid at all because Vivi has walled off his whole map so well. I wonder if Viper sees this relic in the top. Yeah, he does see the one just outside Vivi's walls as well. So he could conceivably end up getting all 5, although that's be quite unsafe to take. You'll have to make sure that Vivi's army is elsewhere. I want to see if these two Janissary armies meet, because Viper has so many more numbers and he could end up picking up 5 kills relatively easily if those two armies clash. Taking pot shots, but as I said, no ballistics, and they tend to miss anyway, so you can see all the like cannonballs are landing all across the hill and barely hitting apart from that one. But Vivi's on the way to Imperial Age already with just 59, so it's something of a Turk fast Imperial with a castle, whereas Viper is going for much more of an economy approach, getting handcart as well. So that's going to mean that Vivi has to do the damage with his and make the most of his fast Imperial. The longer the game goes on with Viper having relics in the bank and having handcart done and far ahead of him, that will mean that Vivi just falls further and further behind in terms of ability to mass army and to get more and more different upgrades. So Vivi kind of has a window in this game, I feel like, where he has to take advantage, and if he doesn't, then the economy difference in favour of the Viper will start to tell, because not only does he have more economic upgrades at the moment, I think. I haven't double checked the tech tree to check that, but I'm pretty sure it's the case. He also has a 17 villager advantage, and he's continuing to produce villagers from 1, 2, 3 town centres, whilst Vivi is on the way to the Imperial Age with one town centre and so only producing villages from one other TC. I think at this point Viper has picked up all 5 relics on the map, just to reply to the person asking in the chat.
I think Vivi has 3 TCs as well, but he's off his secondary gold because Viper's got a Janissary there. He's found both of Vivi's secondary gold piles, so that's a lot of trouble for him. On the other hand, with Viper on the way to Imperial Age, yeah, it's not looking great for Vivi, especially with Fort Castle, stronger economy from Viper and all those relics in the bank, as well as army massive force.
Yeah, I just realised I was really stupid because I was even looking at that TC in the top corner and then not registering the fact that it had actually been, that it, you know, that he was up onto 3 TCs.
Yeah.
Forget everything I say, guys. Alright.
Anyway, I don't know what Vivi can do at this point because he's so far behind on Janissary numbers. Even with the Imperial Age coming in 3 minutes earlier, he just doesn't have the eco to make the most of it. He's actually going hand cannons because he doesn't have the castles in order to make enough Janissaries with his economy.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Not only does Viper have the military advantage, but he's also got the eco advantage. And I was talking about a window of time for Vivi to do the damage, but I think that window is incredibly narrow. With Viper about to hit the Imperial Age in just a few minutes with a 20 villager advantage and 5 relics in the bank, I'd say the window is almost about to close. And he's not made his move yet. First bombard cannon and some hand cannoneers coming out as well. I think hand cannoneers will help him to get the numbers up soon, but obviously they aren't quite as strong as Janissaries. It looks like Viper's microing that a little bit better in the hill as well, just getting up 2 kills for the price of 1, I think, although being forced away by the bombard cannons for now. And Viper going straight away for artillery and conscription out of his 2 castles, so he's going to be able to mass units much faster with conscription, but also they're going to have extra range on the bombard cannons, whereas Vivi hasn't done that, and he's only now doing handcart. So there we can see there's like a, I don't know, 6-minute difference in handcart timing or something like that, so that's a lot of extra economic power that Viper's been taking advantage of in the last few minutes. Vivi moving around the top right hand side of the map to try and do some raiding, but Viper's got like some house radar going on there. He's not walled it off, but he's got I have a lot of line of sight with those houses to see Vivi raiding in the top. And I don't think Vivi's going to find that stone and stuff in the top. No, he won't. He hasn't seen it. Military-wise, they're looking roughly even, but Viper nearly all Janissaries, and whilst Vivi is split into 2 different groups, some Janissaries on the right and then some hand cannons and bombards on the left. And that means that Viper could take some really favourable engagement and clean up quite a bunch of Janissaries in the back of his base right now if he manages to get the positioning correctly.
I think some people also underestimate the power of artillery. The bombard cannon micro is going to be so much easier for Viper. He's going to be able to take out the bombard cannons from Vivi from a distance with that extra +2 range, and I don't know if Vivi can do anything about it. Bombard cannons are so important in this fight unless he doesn't actually have any. Okay, so he's going to force Vivi away anyway. I was going to say unless he gets them picked off by hand cannons coming in, but it doesn't happen, so.
Yeah, and Vivi's built all of his forward production like kind of in range of where all those bombard cannons are now, so he could find himself having to rebuild all of his archery ranges soon as well. But I agree, the range on those bombard cannons once they get artillery is insane, and no sign of Vivi doing that and upgrade anytime soon. Viper on 6 bombard cannons to Vivi's 2 at the moment. Well, actually 3 now. Quite intense microing going on, and it's like, so they're like playing dodgeball. It's like dodgeball extreme. But despite,
yeah, it's dodgeball except I have 2 extra range compared to you, so I'm gonna win every time.
Yeah, and Vivi we were talking about that window of time slamming shut on Vivi, and Vivi recognises that himself. He's hasn't got the advantage in military, really hasn't got the advantage in economy, hasn't got the advantage in technology, and also map position. Viper has this big hill in the middle of the map, and he's just thinking, what can I do? So that is the set over, basically. I think those were a nice set of games, and definitely in the first couple of games very closely contested, and a good set, I think. So Vivi's come in, showing us some interesting strategies, some interesting picks. So I think we'll see lots of nice games from Vivi as well in the rest of this tournament. And Viper off to a winning start, picking up 3 points and sailing on through the group for now. Viper's going to be playing quite a lot of his other matches quite thick and fast in the early part of the tournament, because he wants to do that so he doesn't have to schedule as much in the, like a few weeks later down the line, because I think he's going to be away for a bit. So you're going to be seeing lots of Viper in the next week or two, I think. Possibly playing Stark in the next couple of days as well. You see kills to deaths for Viper there, just out microing, I think, and meaning that he was able to have a larger army despite all going on the very much economy and relic collecting approach as well. And resource collection is just a massive difference. Viper has just had a complete stranglehold over that game. Military, economy, technological, map control, everything, it was in his favour, and Vivi just knew there was no way back. Right. So I'm just going to update the score for confirmation. And then I guess we're done here. Thank you very much for joining me, Helen. I'm sorry that you had those technical problems that meant you couldn't completely be here all the time. But
Yep.
I think that's our first time we've done any streaming together. So
Yeah, thanks for letting me co-cast and putting up the, obviously me being in a submarine.
in a submarine.
But yeah, maybe I'll be back for more. I do have the next couple of days off, hopefully, depending on whether more work comes in. If I don't get called in, then I might be available for some more casting until I head off to a place where there's no internet, my grandma's place. So, yeah, maybe see you guys around.
Yep, okay then, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. And I'm just going to check out C-Zone to see if any